Preparedness starts with us, awareness and consciousness. We want to emphasize that. So why should we be prepared? The emergency resources of our local and federal government are limited. And we may have thought in the past, if I can hold out, the cavalry is coming. That's not necessarily true. And we see that where disasters occur. It may take longer, the disaster may be more extensive than thought, and the resources may be less than we expected. So when we're prepared, it helps us and it helps those around us to survive. Preparing is simple. There's action steps that we should take to prepare. The first is to get informed. That's what we did when we increased our awareness. Make a plan, assemble the things that we may need. Assemble a disaster or a go kit. And many of the things I'm talking about now will be gone into in more depth by my colleague who will follow me.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. So we're good. And basically, we're going to actually summarize. There's some disasters that are natural. We know about them. Floods. We can't control floods or blizzards or tornadoes or earthquakes. We can be sometimes the cause of explosions, fires, chemicals, and biological attacks. So those are just a few examples of each of them. And just a survey that was done, how many of us are ready for when it's time to move? And these are just some statistics. Yes, I'm fully prepared. Women, 23%, men, 38%. Yes, but not enough. 29% of men said yes, and 26% of women said no. But no, you don't think you should, or you're not ready. 22% of men said yes. 42% of women said, no, I don't have one, but I think I should. And the last group would be, no, I don't think it's necessary. So you still have 11% of men who said, I don't think it's necessary, and 9% of women who think they should have supplies in their cars. So we talked about what emergency preparedness is, but for those of us with disabilities, we're more vulnerable. The elderly, the young children, we're more vulnerable. So we need to rely on the system more than others. So we need to be more familiar with landmarks and usual travel routes. And some of you, if you just think about your routes, just look at the signs as you go down the street. Sometimes you will see a sign that disseminates, this is the evacuation route. So remember those, those signs that you see on your daily travels, because those are the routes that you would take to get out of the area if necessary. So what do you talk to your family about briefly? How are you going to receive emergency alerts and warnings? What's your shelter plan? And we talked about the evacuation route. And as we also talked about the family, household, and communication plan. All right, Dr. Ramadan spoke about the emergency kit in the go bag. And if there's anything different from that, I would say you have your food and supply for your pets. Many of you have pets out there, so make sure you have enough food supplies for your pets, as well as the radio, the flashlights, and the change of clothing, as you heard the young lady said on the video. And for those of you who are on medications, of course, make sure you have your medications in your first aid kits and the other items. We have to shelter in place now. What should be there? What should be in our homes? So you have a stay bin. They recommend at least 2 weeks of a stash of essentials in the event that you have to stay in home without power or heat. So you should have enough supplies, as I said, for 2 weeks of bottled water, non-perishables, your pet foods, toilet paper, and personal hygiene supplies. And again, just to review some of those non-perishable items, how about that can opener that doesn't require electricity? Of course, enough water, and your first aid kits. Now, if any reason you have to go into those first aid kits, make sure you replenish those items make sure you're aware of those things that will expire and need to be updated. All right. Again, just driving home, those types of chargers, batteries do go bad. So if you buy batteries in bulk, make sure you're aware of when they expire. If you are able to see this particular battery, it has 2013 on it. So just like you do your medications, make sure you know when your batteries are expiring so you can replenish them. And of course, the flashlights for batteries and your radio as well. Some of the things that were not mentioned, we know in COVID period, we knew about the different types of masks. So again, keep your supply of masks up and your hand sanitizers. We learned more about hand sanitizers and disinfecting wipes. We talked about our prescribed medications, non-prescription medications, such as pain relievers, anti-diarrhea medicine, antacids, or laxatives. Your prescription eyeglasses should be there, or your contact lens. And for the little people, the infants, the bottles, the diapers, the wipes, the diaper rash cream. Yes, they spoke a little bit in the video about your money. So keep that cash on hand or traveler's checks. They talked about the important family documents. Some of them may be in your safe, but you need to have them ready to be on the go with a waterproof container. Sleeping bags, if you need to sleep outside, warm blankets for each person. And we talked about the clothing, fire extinguishers. And again, those expire as well. If you're purchasing them from Home Depot or Lowe's, make sure that the fire extinguisher is updated as necessary. Matches in a waterproof container. We talked about the hygiene products, paper cups, plates, towels, napkins, utensils, a pencil, and a pen. Books and games for those intermediates, books and games and puzzles or other activities to keep them busy. And this is from ready.gov, Homeland Security. All right, just a brief thing. We talked about flooding. We know what's going on, and it will continue to go on. So we know we don't swim in floodwaters. We know we stay off of bridges with fast-moving water, and we need to actually determine our best protection based on the type of flooding. So listen to the news report, know your area, evacuate if told to do so, move to higher ground or higher floor, and sometimes you need to just stay where you are. Okay, ready.gov. All right, so we know we're in the heat season. We know all of us have to be careful, from the youngest to the eldest one of us. Finding air conditioning. For some of us who live in multi-system dwellings like apartment buildings, if the air is not functioning, please know where your cooling station is. Don't just stay in a heat environment and your health deteriorate. Avoid strenuous activities. You watch out for heat illness. Wear light reflecting clothing, not dark and heavy clothing. Know your neighbors, check on your neighbors and your family members. Drinking plenty of water, fluids, not always just water, but there's other fluids. Watch out for heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. And never leave your people, especially your little people, or your pets in a closed car. So briefly, signs of a heat stroke. That's when your body temperature rises to greater than 103 degrees Fahrenheit when you take it orally. So your skin is red and hot or dry with no sweat. That's dangerous. You have a rapid, fast, strong pulse. You become dizzy, confused, or unconscious. And if you are observing and suspecting this, call 911 immediately and get that person to the hospital. This is life-threatening. Cool down with whatever methods are available until medical help arrives. Do not give the person anything to drink. So that's very important to be observant of that. So heat exhaustion, what's the difference? So the body's response to excessive loss of water and salt, and that's usually through excessive sweating. So it mostly occurs in the elderly, people with high blood pressure, and those out there working in those environments in the sun. So what do you see? What do you notice? Headaches, nausea, dizziness, weakness. They get irritable. They're thirsty. There's heavy sweating. There's an elevated body temperature, and they are not urinating. Very important. All right. So those who live in Tornado Alley, those who frequently have tornadoes, again, listen to the weather report. What are they saying? When did they expect the tornado to touch down? You know that if you're at home, go to a safe room, basement, or storm cellar. And if there's no basement, get to a small interior room on the lowest level. Stay away from the windows, the doors, and the outside walls. If you can safely get to a sturdy building, do so immediately. Do not get under an overpass or a bridge. You're safer in a low, flat location. Watch out for flying debris that can cause injury or death. Use your arms to protect your head and your neck. All right, so again, so what do we do? Preparation is key. Get that emergency plan, talk to the family, know your neighbors, check on your seniors, get that food supply and all the other supplies we spoke about. One thing we didn't mention is that whistle. Okay, you're somewhere you can't speak, get a whistle. Make sure you have a working whistle that can alert people to your location. We need to realize that the system is going to be overburdened. Okay, your hospitals and emergency urgent care centers. So those things about actually learning first aid and also having those first aid kits, that they are very vital, dear family. So remember that not everyone can afford to respond or stock up necessities, but as the video said, basically little by little, everything's possible. Make those purchases for your disaster kits. All right, earthquakes occur. In fact, sometimes even on the East Coast where we live. And so if you're in a car, pull over and stop. Put the brakes on. If you're in the bed, turn face down and cover your head and neck with a pillow. If you're outdoors, stay outdoors away from buildings. If you're inside, stay and do not run outside and avoid the doorways. So key, drop, cover, and hold on. Okay, so these are our family with assistive devices such as canes and wheelchairs. So again, drop, cover, and hold on. And also with the walker, lock that walker, sit down in it, cover your head, and hold on as much as possible. All right, we're going to have those extended power outages. We experienced them last year. In fact, on the East Coast, it wasn't pleasant, but remember, they are going to occur. They talked about the water, at least 3 to 6 gallons per person. And this is something we didn't hear, chlorine dioxide tablets, and that helps to purify extra water that you might have to use. We talked about the can opener and the batteries and the battery powered lanterns and the solar rechargeable lanterns. Home fires, they occur every day in different parts of the country, more often than others. So according to the AARP recent bulletin for June, due to the way that our homes are built, many of our homes are open space. That's nice, but however, if you only have 3 minutes or less to escape a home fire versus 17 minutes a few decades ago, homes were built a little differently. So, and then we have many synthetic materials that are being used to build these new homes. So how many of you have smoke alarms? How many are you checking them at least twice a year? You need to sleep with your bed door closed. Why? That keeps the fire at bay, gives you more time to escape. How many of you have your carbon monoxide detectors to help detect your smoke that's in the area? Stay close to cooking pans while you're there and you're using the stove. Watch out for the little people so they're not by the stove and they become injured in that way.